Hello, I'm Rasha Goel, and welcome to LA Currents. When it comes to graffiti art, there's one man who's created a niche for himself and crafted a distinguished career. Gajin Fujita, a Los Angeles artist. He has been recognized nationally and internationally for his murals and museum installments. And he's created his own unique brand by fusing ideas and images from the East and West. And in doing so, he's been able to also express his LA and Japanese roots. We are so delighted to have him in studio. I'm so excited to be talking to you today. Gajin Fujita, welcome. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing good. It's a little hot outside, but
well, we're going to try to keep you cool in here. We're going to try to keep you cool. So you are an artist from East Los Angeles, and you were part of the LA graffiti crews Kill to Succeed and Kids Gone Bad.
Yes. I was first in KGB, which is Kids Gone Bad, with a group of kids that I met while I was in junior high out in Mid-City, LA. And then Kill to Succeed, they're just as an older crew from LA, like 1984, 85. And they used to paint around the Belmont High School out near downtown, just west of downtown.
I mean, you started this when I would say graffiti art was pretty much in its infancy. You were probably in middle school and hanging out with these crews, and then you went on to college and then got your graduate degree in the arts.
Yes, I have. So I pretty much saw the infancy of hip hop in general. The wave hit out here from the East Coast. Like in 82, 83. Up until then, we were listening to rock and roll music, Iron Maiden, Ozzy Osbourne, stuff like that. But then hip-hop was something super new and super interesting with breakdancing, graffiti, and the emceeing and rapping, rap music. It all came into form out here in the West, like 84, 85. And that's when I was at middle school.
Gajin, talk to me a little bit about your transition from street art to professional spaces.
So that transitioning time was time spent at school. It was going to get educated in fine arts. I started out at East LA Community College, and from there I was recommended to go to art school, and so I chose Otis Art in College here when it was here still in downtown by MacArthur Park, and then I went on to graduate school out in Las Vegas.
Now, how do you think you've been able to use your artistic abilities and create a positive impact? It's pretty impressive, a lot of the work that you've done.
You know, I'm not, I didn't dive into the career of fine arts necessarily to be a role model.
But you somehow managed to do that.
But, and my first works were a lot more racier. They had more explicit, like eroticism and stuff. I was trying to violate people's expectations, which I'm still trying to in my new works. But it's great that there's people that can get inspired by my story, I guess.
When you say violate expectations, what exactly do you mean by that?
To show people what is unexpected, to change their minds or to stir their minds up and make it ajar.
Well, and I think art has a way of doing that, right? I mean, and we all have our own interpretations. It does make us think. And I think what's been so unique about your artwork, because I've taken a look at a lot of the things, is that you've used the UkiyoE, the style, I would say, right, which is a Japanese style, and you fused that kind of with Western urban imagery. Tell us a little bit about what this style entails and how you are using it for your art.
Well, so UkiyoE is a woodblock prints from Japan, and I been using a lot of the artists and designers who designed these prints from the Edo period, which stemmed close to 300 years. So from the 1700s all the way to the beginning of 1900s.
It's quite a history.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to bring out a little bit of my history, or the Japanese history, and I love the woodblock prints, the UkiyoE prints, because during the Edo period it was a lively city. Edo is the old Tokyo, and they with these prints made impressions of the city life, the urban life. And my mom, actually my parents were first to introduce it to me and my brothers. And I felt that was, when I first saw it, I'm always attracted to colors. And so I just felt it was so vivid and so saturated and rich with color. It blew my mind, and I wanted to bring that love of color into my paintings. So I reference a lot of UkiyoE prints, and then here we go with the violation part. My teacher and mentor, Dave Hickey, from Las Vegas, UNLV, he had mentioned that art should violate people's expectations, and that's what got my mind thinking and kind of rolling to see how I can violate people's expectations with my work. And I knew I had one component of that, which was the graffiti. Graffiti is like a violation, right? Like
right.
It's illegal.
Right.
It's vandalistic.
I mean, it's a core violation, yes.
Yes. So I thought, wow, I had like an old photo album, family trip to Japan from like 1987, and in there, one of the pictures that I took was a picture of the Kinkakuji, which translates to the Golden Pavilion in Kyoto, and it was a building that was dedicated to a prince, and this building, it's like a pagoda that sits in the middle of a pond, and it's gilded all the way around and inside as well. So it's like super shiny gold. It's blinged out, and it was shimmering off the water, the reflection of the gold. And so I don't know how I did it, but I managed to take a nice picture of it. And I had that photo. When I saw it, I was like, wow, that would be super violating if someone had tried to tag.
Absolutely.
So that's that's what I thought, to me, what a violation of expectation would be, something like that. And so instead of going out there to Kyoto, which if I got busted, I probably wouldn't be able to step foot in Japan.
I'm sure we wouldn't be seeing you here today, right?
That led me to make my own walls that were gilded with gold, and from there I could do whatever I want or I wish to with these panels, and that's how I got started. That was one of the violations, and then I used the erotic woodblock prints, which are called shunga in Japanese, and I sort of collaged or made these worlds collide in my paintings. And the first painting that I made back in '98, I think, was called Motel, and so I did like a graffiti piece in the foreground that said motel. It was in the brush style text to make it look Asiatic.
Okay.
And there were tags in the background, and then there was a couple making love.
You're definitely pushing the envelope there.
Yeah. You asked me what it entails, what
Yes,
my images entail.
What the images or the styles, and I definitely want to talk to you a little bit more too, because you're now being featured with the LA Public Library, so I want to get into that as well.
Mm-hmm. As far as entailing, I don't, I guess I make what I want to see, and I'm not sure about what the consequences can hold. But that's part of being violating, I think.
But I feel like it's almost entering a place of no fear, since you're not thinking of I would be terrified to go to a wall and tag. I mean, I would be terrified, but as you're thinking of your art, there's no boundaries or limits there, because you're not worried.
I haven't been tagging in a long time. I've been working in my studio very diligently. But there were times back in the 80s when I was out in the streets more diligent than the studio, because I didn't want to be home. And but it was funny because my father was a painter, and sometimes he would come out to the graffiti yards and paint with us. Yeah. Oh. So I have fond memories of him doing that with us.
Gajin, let's jump to the studio real quick. So you're doing so much work right now, and I think one of the greatest pieces that can now be shared with people in their pockets is the library card, and this is a special edition. But for me, I understand that this isn't just art for you, because you actually have a special connection to the LA Public Library. So it extends beyond just creating the image that you recently did.
Yeah, I used to frequent the library, my local library in Boyle Heights, the Robert Louis Stevenson Library. It's a branch. And during the summers when it was hot, my brothers and I would, instead of being out in the streets playing football or something, we'd frequent the library to get AC and cold water.
But it paid off today, though.
But it paid off today, and I feel very privileged and honored that my image was selected to go on the face of the library card, the LA library card.
And talk to me about the image, because there's several different components to it.
So the main imagery would be a figure and character named Kintaro, which translates to Golden Boy. And it's funny because I did a little workshop demonstration out at the Stevenson Library branch like a week ago. And there were kids that I demonstrated in front of that were from Boyle Heights, from the Oscar de la Hoya Charter High School, which is super close to where I went to elementary school.
Oh, wow.
And super close to the library as well. I think they walked, they came in a van, but since it's opened by Oscar de la Hoya, and Oscar de la Hoya has a company named Golden Boy, right? It was fitting at the end of the day when the kids were leaving the library. They were in a van, and all over the van it said Golden Boy. I was like, wow, what a coincidence.
That was definitely meant to be for you that day.
I don't know, but anyways, the figure Kintaro, in English, he will translate to Golden Boy. And he's a symbol of boys, as well as strength and bravery, courage, and all those things. And during Boys' Day in Japan, which is May 5th, the families that have boys in their family will bring out little dolls that reference Kintaro, to celebrate Kintaro, and to celebrate the boys, so that they can grow up to be just as brave and courageous as Kintaro.
But then you also fuse that with a Dodgers image.
Yes, so I gave it my own twist, my LA twist, and that would be an LA Dodger logo, Los Angeles Dodger logo painted on his I gave him a jersey or uniform to wear, and a bandana for a bib, which is synonymous to LA culture here.
So definitely was that fusion and blending of both cultures for you. And
Yes.
representing just not your roots, but even the city and our diversity.
Right, right.
Now, speaking of diversity in your work again, to date, I think one of your most complicated paintings is Invincible Kings of this Mad, Mad World, which took 5 months to make.
5-6 months.
6 months, and it's 8 by 16 feet. So what was the inspiration behind that, and why did you want to share that message with people? I took a look at that painting. It was a lot going on in there.
Yes. So there's a great deal of Asiatic stories, legends, myths involved in this painting. My inspiration came from actually tattoos that the Yakuzas in Japan, the old Yakuzas in Japan would wear. They would have their whole back covered with the Chinese lion, in tandem with the peony flowers, or surrounded by the peony flowers. This emperor, he rewarded his people with peony flowers as a reward for doing good and finding humility for others. And so the peony flower was automatically deemed the king or the emperor of the flower world. And so the Japanese had taken the flower world and the animal kingdom and put it together, because the lion is also the king of the jungle, or the king of the animal realm. And the Japanese Yakuzas would tattoo the two characters, or the flower and the Chinese lion, together to symbolize, once again, like strength, protection, leaders of the community. And so I took that theme, and that was the theme that inspired me for this painting. And the message in the overall painting, and people are welcome to imply whatever they want, but for me it was a message of how minuscule and how small we are in this world as human beings, and that nature is the greatest ruler of all in our world.
So agree with you on that.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for a long time, Gajin, and you, especially with graffiti art, you're very familiar with it. How do you think the perception of graffiti art has changed in Los Angeles?
You know, I don't think I'm making that much of a change, but there's a lot of street art going on now. There's been some huge graffiti street art shows. One that happened here at Mocha in 2011. And I think those shows must have impacted a great deal on the views and perception of graffiti, I believe. And I think it's a good thing. It's a good form now that graffiti is being accepted. Of course, you have the vandals who are still illegally out there doing their stuff, which I commend and give a lot more credit to, because it's a lot harder to do, to put up to paint something when you have to look over your shoulders or you have to do it in stealth mode. And that's the essence of graffiti. So, you know, what I'm doing in the studio is not really graffiti. It's just a resemblance of graffiti. But I'm glad that there's this huge trend and popularity of street art and graffiti. Now it's widely accepted. I don't think just here in the States, but all over the world. And to see it from when I started in the early '80s or like the mid '80s to what it's spawned to now, I think it's wonderful.
I think what's so impressive is where your work has been featured. It's been featured at places such as the LA Louver and museums such as LACMA, Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art, as well as internationally, Switzerland, Belgium, and Greece. So how did you get your work into those spaces?
Well, that has to do with my gallery, LA Louver. They're in Venice. They've been an old gallery here in LA. They've been in existence for over 40 years. And Peter Goulds of LA Louver started to kind of scout me while I was still at Otis. And after I had graduated my graduate school out in Vegas, my mentor, Dave Hickey, who I'm good friends with and treat him as like an art head coach, put me up in this show that he curated. It was a gigantic show of and historical proportions because it had a great deal of great American artists in the group, and that's the show that got me in and got me recruited into working with LA Louver Gallery. And so that gallery, LA Louver, has been very important in getting me into such spaces as LACMA or out in Europe, to these art fairs and meaningful group shows.
And have you along your journey had any artists or any individuals, either from Japan or here as local artists, that have inspired you for your work?
Well, inspiration, I have a lot of inspiration. You know, my teachers, of course, my parents, my father, who was also a painter. You know, his life and his story has inspired me a great deal. As far as visual aesthetics, like the Renaissance masters, someone that's post-Renaissance, I've been really looking at and studying a lot recently is Caravaggio from Italy. He was born, late 1500s. He had a short career. He only lived till like 37. But he's known as the evil genius. And I just love looking at, they were mostly doing figurative work and sort of realistic painting, painting humans and figures that told the stories of, they were biblical stories, and then the UkiyoE masters, of course, from Japan. Someone that I studied a lot, and he's super popular, is Yoshitoshi. Someone that's older would be Hokusai Kuniyoshi. These are among some of the artists that I draw a great deal of inspiration from.
And how long does it normally take you to do your pieces? I mean, does it range, or on an average, are you spending a certain amount of time?
Well, the bigger it is, like the Invincible Kings from of this Mad Mad World, that one took like about 6 months because it was one of the larger paintings that I've painted in my career. And something like a recent painting that I finished, it's called Midnight Alley Cats with the tiger, is only 10 inches by 24 inches, and that one took about a month.
And is that on display anywhere right now?
No, it's actually in the back rooms of the gallery that I work with in Venice. They'll come and pick up whatever I finish. And I'm sure it'll be displayed somewhere.
You being an Angelino that's born here too, everything is rooted from here for you, and
Yes.
and expanding. Speaking of expanding, this journey, you're so humble, but it's been such an incredible journey. But has there been anything that's come about for you that's kind of been unexpected?
I think for me, unexpected, all of it was unexpected. All this is unexpected. The library card, for instance, was unexpected because I didn't make the image for the library card. This painting and image was already made, and they selected it. So it's been a surprise and hugely unexpected. It's a limited edition, 100,000, and of these library cards, and 50,000 have already been given away. So.
And in a very short period of time. I think it's only been 3 months.
Yeah, since April. So that's 3 months. So yeah.
Pretty impressive, I would say.
People better go get theirs.
That's right, if they want to hold on to that. Is there a dream project that you still have? I mean, because you've done so many very vivid paintings, so colorful, and just so many different messages. But is there a dream project that you would really like to?
A dream project. I wouldn't be able to think of any dreams, but something like a dream that had taken place was the workshop and the demonstration that I did at Stevenson Library. That was almost like a dream. Is coming in full circle, because it was the library that I frequented with my brothers, and and to go back like almost 40 years later, and to sort of enrich the community, or to not necessarily teach, but to show the kids from the neighborhood, from the community, what is possible. And there are many things out there in the creative field that they can pursue.
It's like you're empowering them, basically, right?
I hope so.
No, I definitely think so. You are. I mean, you're encouraging them and showing them a different route. I have to ask you, as artists, our brains are always thinking, and there's different things coming to mind. But we can also get stumped.
Yes.
And, right? Because you're like, okay, I've done this. Now what do I do next?
Yeah.
Gajin, what keeps you inspired so that you want to continue to create? And when you do your last painting, or the most recent one, you're not like, oh, this is it, I'm done. But no, I have this fire in my heart that still burns to make more.
Well, I think I've been able to garner a few fans, and I think I'm inspired by bringing to them the next excitement, and to violate their expectations.
Well, we look forward to having you violate more of our expectations. It has been such a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for coming
thank you,
in.
Rasha.
This has been so much fun, just learning about your work, your inspiration, and how you're empowering people. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And thank all of you for joining us. You are watching LA Currents.